Take that. Well, is it too early to say howdy, folks? Might be. Might be too early for that. Welcome, 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 everybody. And welcome to Bangkok, Thailand. Yes, we're going to do a short live over here today. Got the chitlins over there. Got a short live today. We've been talking about lately expats and lies, plus all the other bullshit type stuff that you hear on YouTube. So I thought, I'm going to have my little series. Sean S., how are ya? Nice to see you again. Yeah, we've been doing this series lately. I've had some time to do some live streams lately, short ones, and I've been watching all of the expats, all of the YouTubers lie like crazy. And I just thought I'm going to go through each live stream. I'm going to expose a different one. Now, well, I saw not only expats. Yes, John, I am doing good. And thank you for saying that. I hope the same for you, of course. So lately, I've noticed there's several YouTubers, a lot of them. I haven't had much time to watch this up until this week. I was at a convention this week where it was kind of dead, a lot of the convention. And so I had some free time. Plus, I had shuttle time, 30 minutes up, 30 minutes back. And it was the first time in a long time I actually had some time to really look at YouTube. And holy moly, what a shock. Oh, how you doing, Ozark? I live well, I don't really live in Bangkok, but we come here sometimes uh twice or three times a year for up to 2 months. So we usually will stay here or we stay down in Pattaya, and then our other times we'll go to, Kuala Lumpur. But our main home base is in Da Nang, Vietnam. So we don't just take visa runs, we take so I got the whole gang sitting over there. We take long stay visa runs. So it's hard to say we live here, but in a way we do. So we were talking about, okay, I got a chance to look at some YouTube for the first time. What did I see? I saw shorts one after the next where the girl is telling us, one of them, how come Western men are flocking to meet Filipinas? That's one. They're not. Number one, the tourism numbers are the lowest they've been in decades. Second one was they're doing consultations. One person who's a female will answer your emails for $10 a question, I think it was. Maybe $5 a question, $20 for a video consultation, and $50 for an in-person face-to-face consultation for an hour. They're going to teach you the truth about Filipinas. They're going to help guide you through the process. They're gonna teach you about where to invest your money. They're gonna teach you where to live and the dating scene and everything, and all you gotta do is pay their fee. And I thought, "No, I gotta do some live streams," because for one, I've been a expat longer than anybody in the community, and I've lived in 6 different countries. I've lived all over the Philippines. I was in the Philippines for about 9 of those years, so I know a thing or 2 about it, and I'm not gonna charge anyone for anything. There are a lot of crazy nut jobs out there, and there's so many in our community. I was telling yesterday that I've met over 60 YouTubers, and I know all their secrets because a lot of times they just will blab them out, and I'm not gonna share those with other people. There's 2 prominent ones that I'm not gonna name that are certifiably homosexual, but they get on their channel to try to convince people that they're banging it out with chicks and stuff like that, and I know they're not. Now, do I care enough to expose it? No. They told it to me in confidence. But all I'm reason I'm saying it is because everything you see on YouTube, 99% of it is complete BS. When the camera goes off, the person crawls into their little, fan room and cries themselves to sleep at night, has to get drunk 365 days a year to deal with their loneliness, gets taken advantage of, one Filipina after the next. And this is what I've experienced. I lived in condos, much like the kind you see here, the whole time. And when you're in the Philippines, like in Cebu or Makati, most of the condos are filled with foreigners, not Filipinos. There's no Filipinos in those things. And you see them come in with great exuberance. Oh, it's different here than the West. The women here are wholesome and they're different. And 6 months later, they're running away with their tail between their legs. The statistics show us that 96.4% of expats do not last 5 years. So, Hector, has anyone ever met Aloe in person? Is he half Filipino, as someone's claiming? No, he's not. Aloe's not a Filipino. He's married to a Filipina. He's a Swiss, German type person, and he's about 6'2". He's in his 40s. So no, Aloe is not Filipino. But just like me, he has a connection to the Philippines, so he got to learn a lot about it. Um, so now again, I go back to what I'm saying. I'm not trying to bash anyone. I've met everybody in the community, and I've seen some of the famous ones, the ones that charge consultation fees. Yeah, it's a very nice place. Enter Internet Monster. Yes, thank you, Internet Monster. Internet Monster is one of the good guys, by the way. So is John S. Um, the girls love Internet Monster. April and Honeycomb. Internet Monster and the Unibrow. Yeah, 96% don't make it past 5 years. Now, Internet Monster probably can verify this too. I'm not making this shit up. You meet people that are famous YouTubers, and I'll give one as an example. And I met him, and I multiple times, and that's Ben Newton. Everybody knows Ben Newton. But see, when the camera goes off, what happens to that person? And I like Ben. I'm not trying to bash him here. I'm just giving him an example. What happens when the camera goes off? The person goes back to their little room that's 14 square meters with only a fan in it, sits there and drowns their sorrows in another bottle of Imperador. Now, a lot of these people, not him, but other people have confessed to me that they're truly homosexual. They can't get their dick to work, so they've taken to other men. A lot of other ones have confessed to me, even though they have a girl present, they haven't ever had sex with that girl. What you see on YouTube is mostly bullshit. Some of the ones that are even more polished, who are doing consultations, they're doing that because they fucked up in life. They're not like internet monsters, somebody that can travel all over the world and party his ass off anywhere he wants to go. These are people that rely on having secret information, special information that they're going to share with you for a price. So I'm going to do a live stream. Um, well, Al- Hector, uh, Aloe understands some, so does Popeye, right? Popeye's definitely not Filipino, but Popeye speaks better Tagalog, I think, than April and Honeycomb. Don C is in the house. Oh, yes, Don C. You know it's true. And Don C lived, yeah, I'm the only one that's ever seen Aloe because I was in Switzerland multiple times. Um, Don C, the man, the myth, the legend, and I met Don C. He's one of the 4, the one of the 4 or 5 I met that was actually normal. The rest of them are belong in a mental hospital. Now, I liked everyone, don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna give you lie number 2. Yesterday was I gave lie number 1, the biggest lie. Here's the second biggest lie. It goes something like this: "You gotta watch Filipinas, man. They're in it for the money, but not, you know, but not my Filipina. She's different. She's not in it for the money. She doesn't care about money. She's only in it because of love." Oh, yeah, Ricky's a hoot. A lot of fun, Ricky and Don and everybody, a lot of fun. Ricky's a great guy. So, I've heard this a million times. They'll basically acknowledge that everyone in the Philippines is a scammer, but not their Filipina. No, because the Filipina usually is smart enough not to come out and say, "Give me money." But you know that Filipino will get them to invest. "Oh, let's invest. Let's do a loan scheme, or let's invest in an Airbnb, or let's put up a business." You know that in all the years I've been going to the Philippines for 39 years. Do you know how many people I've known that invested in a property, invested in a store, invested in a business? How many of those people are still afloat today? Oh, like none of them. Their Filipina knows how to play the long game. My Filipina, she's not in it for the money. She wants a big fat dude, bald head. Yeah. She don't care about money. She's in it because she just likes me. She's different. No, no. They're not different. Their culture is created to beg. They have many different ways to do it. As Ricky says, you pay, you pay, you pay. You're paying one way or the other. If you think your Filipina is different, then you have to have your head examined. Yeah. So start off with this. Okay. Let's have this as a starting point. You're a 60-year-old man. A 20-year-old woman is not going to be interested in you. 30-year-old woman, probably not going to be interested. 40-year-old, maybe. But why do you think they're interested in you? You can't even get a job in the Philippines if you're a woman after the age of 35. They have an age limitation. You can't go and say, "Hey, I'm gonna go work at the mall. I'm gonna go to the, hotel. I'm gonna go here or there." They first of all, they don't have any industry. They've got the weakest economy and biggest poverty and biggest corruption in Southeast Asia, but they have age discrimination. Ask anyone from there. Once they're 35 and up, they can't even get a job if they wanted to work. And if they are working, look at April. She worked for a international company, Accenture. She has a master's degree. How much do you think she made? Well, she made about less than I made in 1984 when I had my first minimum wage job. And you wanna know why they throw themselves at white guys? This is why. Why do you think they throw themselves, but Japanese women don't? Why do you think Singaporean women don't do it? Like, somehow only Filipinas got the memo. Why do you think, as some say, it's harder and harder to get Thai women? It's harder and harder to get Thai women because the country's become far more prosperous and less dependent on tourism than it did before. So I will say, you're Filipina. Hey, Tim Diziak, how are you? And Arcelia, Tim, y- y- the girls are in it for the money. That's it. Now, that doesn't mean they can't fall in love with that person. They could, and it happens. But all the ones that get on their show trying to convince you how different their Filipina is are fooling themselves. They're not. And all you got to do is look at the famous case there with Frank and Gilda. You know, I'm not, I don't know Gilda at all, so I can't speak to it, but this is typical what happens, right? We're gonna do, you sell your house in Hawaii, he probably ends up with somewhere around 100,000 bucks, maybe 110,000. He spends 60,000 on the house, 10,000 on the repairs, 20,000 going after Barry. Where's the rest of the money? It went into a loan scheme and a land deal that turned out to be bogus. 2.5 million pesos, about 40,000 bucks. That money's gone. You can kiss it goodbye. Now, was it a full-blown scam? Maybe, maybe not. Nobody knows. Nobody knows because the person telling you about it lies about everything that he says. But is this unusual? No, it's not unusual. That person never had money in their life. They don't know about setting up businesses. They don't know about running a business. They don't know how to manage a payroll and how to deal with taxes and how to deal with insurance and regulations and everything else. You're gonna hand over your money, 100, whatever, 40, 50,000, whatever it was, and you're gonna say, "Here you go," more than you've ever held in your hand at one time in your life by a factor of 10 probably, and you're gonna be the one to lead us to the promised land, someone who's never had 1 second of education or experience running a business. And I don't wanna say that, like, just pinpoint that with them because this is what all these simps do. This is what the cuckle sphere does. They think that somehow corrupt third world countries are more wholesome. They think somehow people that where it leads the world in prostitution and human trafficking and all the other bad things that happen, somehow those people are more wholesome, and you can hand over $50,000 and they're going to take care of it properly. It's delusional. Oh yeah, Tim, none of them do. I mean, I I can't even tell you in all the years I was there, I started coming to the Philippines 39 years ago. And by the way, Tim, since you're here, I'm going to be coming out with a new book near future. I've been working on it night and day. The history of Clark Air Base. It's going to be the encyclopedia of Clark. And you, as a former Air Force professional, I'm going to give you a free copy of it because you served there. And anybody else wants a free copy, let me know. But how many times did I hear the same thing about, you know, I'm going to give her the money. We just saw one the other day, 11 million pesos to build their dream house, and they never even met each other. And when the guy was interviewed, he said, "Oh, I thought she was different. I thought she was wholesome." Why would you think that? They're not wholesome. This country is a country that's all about finding money. It's a money-faced culture and a culture that stabs each other in the back. They're no more family friendly. The reason why it looks like they're all about family is because they can't afford to live away from each other. As soon as any Filipino gets money, they leave the squatters area and go cocoon themselves up away from everybody, just like Americans do. Ask any person, expat or Filipino, if they have a business plan. Oh, Hector, Hector, you know, how many people came and tried to hit me up for money over the years? See, we're very sociable people. You've probably seen some of the old, years ago, I would have 20, 30 people on my live streams in the party mode. I know a lot of people, the Philippines, we're very socially involved with a lot of people. How many people over the years, Hector, came to me and said, can I borrow X amount, $5,000, $1,000, whatever? First thing out of my mouth is, I want to see your business plan. And they look at me, they have no idea what I'm talking about. Well, I'm a director of 3 separate companies, okay? I have to create a business plan. Even though I'm not the sole owner, I have to come up with business plans, and part of my own assets are on the line on these business plans for lines of credit. Without getting into too much horrific detail about the banking world, I have to come up with business plans, all 3 corporations. And I have to do that sometime, or at least once a year, sometimes even twice a year for LCs. And my last business plan was 26 pages long. And the bankers go through it line by line. They rip it to shreds, and you have to do redactions and changes on it right and left. So I've asked that same question, and they don't even know what a business plan is. And that means if you hand them that $5,000, you might as well pour gasoline on it, light it with a match, and watch it go up in flames. At least you'll be entertained for a few seconds. So, what I'm going to do on these series when I get a chance, I'm just going to expose one lie at a time. No, your Filipina's not different. No, she's not better than white women. No, she's not better than Thai women. No, she's not better than any other woman. They're the same. People are the same. People are people. I don't say they're worse than anyone either. Well, of course you did, Don C, because you're a businessman. You're running a legitimate business. I run 3 businesses now, and plus our book business, which is now almost a full-time job that April and Honeyco are doing a lot of the work on. April's now making more. April is now working for my company as well. She was with me at the trade show. She's now making more than any of these expats too. You know, don't get your financial advice from expats who are living in fan rooms. That's the other thing. Come on. If you want to know about business, go to a businessman who knows what he's talking about. If you want to know about AI, go to Don C. He knows what he's talking about. That's what he's been involved in for 12, 13, 14 years. But to trust a Filipina just because she's a Filipina, that is racism by definition. They were separating the sheep from the goats based on race and thinking somehow they're wholesome, but they're not. Your Filipina is not different. She only wants your fat fucking ass because of money. They might not come right out and ask for it because they might be playing the long game. But you gotta get something out of it too. It can't just be you handing her money for someone to be your companion or your caregiver. That's what it is 99% of the time. So between the 2 or 3 guys I met on YouTube that are genuinely homosexuals and pretending to be straight, I'm not gonna name their names, the frank situations where you know there's no intimacy, there's no kissing even, and in a court said that the person was just their caregiver. If you need a caregiver, you need a caregiver. But to the public, they're trying to con you into thinking it's a real relationship. There's nothing could be further from the truth. You know, look before you leap. Don't give your money away to some girl. There's always more fish in the ocean. Make sure you have a real relationship. I knew April and Honeyco for more than 10 years. Okay, it's not like we just jumped in together. And I've talked to so many others. Biggie, can an HVAC technician get a job in your company from here? Well, no, no, no. But I will say this. I've been putting together research on HVAC technicians. Um, right now, this is going to be one of the great jobs. I mean, I'm working on this report for blue collar jobs in Great Britain. It's kind of an odd thing, but they rank HVAC technician as one of the AI proof jobs that's here to stay. And because there's a shortage, a 50% shortage, they're able to make the money of a white collar person now. So, contrary to Sir Francis, I'm not an HVAC technician. I don't know anything about that, but I am in the HVAC world. I retired military. I I don't think you can though, just to answer your question because of the work visa. But I think it's a great field to get into. HVAC is a growing field in the 3 primary areas that I'm involved in, which is hospitals, data centers, and big pharma. Big pharma is growing 46% year over year worldwide. Data centers is at 43%, and healthcare is in the high 20s, and they all need massive amounts of HVAC. So that is a good question, though. Like, what kind of work can you do? I think the only work you could do if you're living in the Philippines is online digital work. And if you are an expert in that, there might be something for companies that have people that call in uh, to get technical help. And there's a lot of that. Believe me, there's a lot. So to recap, no, your Filipina is not different. No, there's nothing different about a Filipina to begin with. They're not better than anybody else. They're not worse than anybody else. The ones who tell you that my Filipina is not interested in the money, those people are usually the most interested in the money. They're just very clever how they go about getting it. Look before you leap. Do not believe every little sad story and every crocodile tear that you see. There's a lot of crocodile tears out there. There's a lot of people that want to reap where you have sown, and don't let them do it. And by the way, if you're in the Philippines, I'm not going to name names, and you're not getting laid every day, what are you doing there? Why would you leave live with all the inconveniences that that has to offer if you're not getting laid 2 or at least once or twice a day. I don't get that. Well, thank you for your question, though, strategic, and if you have an answer, hopefully you'll let us all know that because I think it's a good idea. I think this whole I mean, I'm still working myself between the book business and the regular business. I'm probably putting in 16 to 18 hours a day usually. This last week was a little bit light. My brain kind of finally fried. I didn't write any new material for the books. I took a week off from that because my brain was just like jello. But Don C is 67. He went back to work when he was 64 after having retired for a couple of years. I think sometimes it's best for people to keep working if they enjoy what they do. Or if they need the money, it's certainly better to work part-time, get a few extra bucks. I think it keeps your brain active, uh, and I think it's just it just for a lot of people, it makes them happier. Not for everybody. It also depends on how physical a job they had. If they Yeah, I have a friend, his name is Pat. He was a drywaller, commercial drywaller for 30 years. At the end of his 30 years, he was finished, he could barely walk. Guy like that, thankfully, he was in the union and he was able to, get a full pension and medical and everything like that. So a guy like that shouldn't be working if they can barely walk. I do, Tim. I usually am like the most hyper guy in the world. You can ask the girls this. I work relentlessly and have pushed them to where they become very productive. I mean, April's at the point right now, not only is she making a legitimate $40,000 a year, which doesn't sound like much, but for a Filipino, it's good. She could legitimately make 60 or $80,000 a year if she moved to the US. And, teaching them to have the skills and to participate and help with the bills and everything like that, it's the best thing that ever happened to us. For you, there were times where they were just staring at me all day, and it's like that's not good. And once they got productive, and they even started to write and help write some of their own books. They're small books, they're booklets, but you can ask them on their own live streams. April and Honeika, they both got much happier with their life, as well as having more money. Mm, they got all bent out. They got bent out of shape because you asked the question. You know what? I somebody asked me a hard question yesterday about my legal situation in the Philippines because I'm with two females, and then they were kind of apologized for asking the question, and I don't mind it at all. I like the fact that anyone can ask any question. If it's below the belt, I mean, if it's like snarky just to be a dick, then I'm not going to answer it. But if it's a legitimate question, of course, people shouldn't be getting bent out of shape if you're just asking a question about business licenses for surf shops. Business license, surf shop, Surigao. That's a recipe for disaster. I would never want to even stay in. I've been to Surigao before. April went to the vacation in Surigao with some friends about 2 years ago. Neither one of us could get out of there fast enough. It's just not our cup of tea there. I like Boracay a lot, but I don't like Surigao that much. But I like the idea of just being able to ask questions. It could be about life, it could be about expats. If I don't know the answer, I'm not gonna bullshit you and say I know it. I don't know much about anything. There's huge areas of life I don't know anything about. So I'll defer to people who know. I know about my HVAC world, and I know about some of the stuff I'm writing about in books and about traveling because I traveled over 100 countries. Other than that, I don't know much about anything. So I'd rather people think I'm stupid than to give them false information. But I'm certainly open for any dialogue. If somebody wants to have a legitimate dialogue, if they ask the question respectfully, they deserve a respectful answer. The other thing that I've noticed is all these people that are on YouTube are the most anti-free speech people in the world. Man, you say one little thing, they block your ass. Um, they're afraid to have questions and answers. I'm gonna say it again, and I hate to say it. I really do hate to say it. But having met most of these YouTubers, if you spent your life and ended up on YouTube doing consulting or your whole life is dependent on your YouTube channel, it means you're a fucking loser. You made a mistake somewhere along the way. The consultations, the expat training seminars, the fees, the super chats, the this, that, and the other. It means you probably fucked up somewhere in your life. And if that's the case and you had to run to the Philippines because you couldn't afford anything else, and now you're just an e-beggar, you shouldn't be on. You should go back to your country and get a fucking job. That's my opinion, of course. Yeah, I do, Tim. Like, I can tell you as an example, I stayed over there where you're at, Tim. I was at the Clarkton Hotel for 6 weeks. I met over 100 bar girls at the Clarkton Hotel. It used to be a big deal back then. They had a choreographed floor show, and I used to stay right there. And I got to meet all these people during the day. They would come in, and I'm not talking about sexual encounters. Just met them and talked to them and hung out with them. Got their stories. Uh, and I went to the Aita village, which is close to Clark, and I, of course, toured Clark and all over Angeles City. That was in 2009. So, does that mean I know about Angeles City today? No, I don't have a clue about it today. If I need to know or if somebody wants to know about it, I'm gonna send him to Tim Disiak. He's lived there for 14 years. He has forgotten more about it than I know or ever will know. I could tell you about what I did, what is that, 17 years ago? I could tell you about that. I was there. I went to the different places. They had about 500 bars back in that day. I think a lot of it's closed down. I've been to Angeles City a couple times. I went there to meet Tim, as a matter of fact, but I don't know. I'm not current with it. So if you want the information, go to someone who lives there who's not trying to sell you a bill of goods. So Tim would be my first choice to ask a question on Angeles City. And also, if you don't know Tim, you guys should go to Tim's uh, videos. He's the most informative video guy in the Philippines. He has all kinds of historical stuff. It's the most informative, best stuff. Some of the books I've worked on, the Aitas, as an example, the indigenous people of the Philippines, research projects that we're working on right now came from Tim's videos. And Expat was I got extremely upset. Yeah, a lot of people get upset. A lot of vloggers get upset at every little thing, don't they? because they're not happy with their life. Let's be honest. I mean, if they have to sell you on themselves, everything is a sales pitch. They can't ever go anywhere. They can't ever travel anywhere. They're afraid of their own damn shadow. You know, they try to convince you that the Filipinas difference. It's all bullshit. Okay, all of it. Because if a person who's at peace with themselves isn't constantly have to do a sales pitch to convince you otherwise. And you know, happiness and joyfulness is it comes and goes. Sometimes people get depressed. Sometimes people go through a tragedy. Sometimes people need to be encouraged. But then there's other times where they are happy and joyful. They go through the roller coaster of life. That's normal. But you listen to the vloggers on YouTube, my gosh, it's they're shoveling shit faster than you can sing a chorus of the Hallelujah chorus. Okay. Well, if you're not an expert, Tim, nobody is. Well, not on politics. And, you know, it really that's how it should be. It's not our country, right? I don't get involved in the politics. I don't even wanna get involved in the politics of our country. You know, I happen to be a big fan of Donald Trump. The main reason is because Trump tells the media that they're fake, calls them fake news, calls them horrible people, which they are. The double standards they have, the corruption in politics is unbelievable. I also, and it drove Frank crazy, praised it because the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones was up to the highest level it's been. I explained to him my portfolio had gone up 26%. This was about, oh, I want to say 6 or 8 months ago. This was back in November when we were in Cambodia because we were celebrating the 1 year anniversary, I think it was, from the time he got elected. And my portfolio had gone up 26%. So I look at the portfolio, I look at the unemployment rate, it's 4%. I look at the growth, which is like 4%. We haven't seen that since Reagan, really. And I look at the investment coming back into the United States. All the globalists that wanted to ship all of our jobs to other countries should be considered traitors, Democrat and Republican. I didn't give a shit about the Bushes or the Clintons or any of these people. They were terrible people. But that same goofball got all upset when I said this because he said he's a pedophile. The same person that, you know, brought a case against Barry Jordan for him calling him a pedophile is calling the president of the United States a pedophile when he's never been charged with being a pedophile. He cries that you're supposed to be innocent till proven guilty. That's about the extent I get involved in politics, but I don't get involved in politics in another country. Well, that's it, Tim. I mean, Donald Trump is worth 10, $12 billion the old-fashioned way, you know, which was more than all of the presidents combined before him. And that wasn't through the stock market. So we saw him make mincemeat out of 17 Republican opponents. Jeb Bush spent 10 times as much money as Donald Trump, and he got annihilated. We saw Hillary Clinton spend 3 to 4 times as much with the entire Clinton machine, and she got annihilated. We just recently saw Kamala Harris spend 4 times as much as Trump, and she got annihilated. So obviously, they're not smarter than the guy. Simple as that. But we just got to look at the metrics. 4% unemployment, strong jobs report, inflation is in check. It's a little bit higher, but it's nothing like it was during Biden. Inflation's up a little bit because of the war. Finally, we're putting an end to the menace in Iran, something that should have been done 49 years ago. Reinvestment in factories in the United States, business is booming. We can't even find people to hire that are qualified. One of our biggest challenges in all of our companies that I'm involved in is finding people to hire that are qualified. And because we can't find them, guess what we have to do? We have to pay people more. Their wages have gone up dramatically. My own wages have gone up 40% in the last couple months because of that same reason. The stock market's at an all-time. I'm not saying everything's perfect. Of course, not everything's perfect. It's a very complicated country. That's why I like the guy, though. He's pro-military, and he is, not afraid to call out the fake news. What more could you, but with that said, I'm not gonna talk politics in Thailand or in Vietnam or in the Philippines because that's not my country. I'm a tourist, a tourist. Do we want tourists in America talking and holding rallies and stuff? No. Imagine the total insanity of going to the Philippines to be a tourist for 9 years like Frank has, and your entire life is cases. A case against a Facebook guy, a case against Barry Jordan, this case, that case, fighting on YouTube every day. Unbelievable. Well, there you go, Tim. It's tripled. You have your own tricycle. You don't live a bad life at all. You've managed to stay there for more than a dozen years, and everyone who meets you likes you. What more could you want? You have a girlfriend and you have your other family there, the driver and so on, the guy that helps you with the videos. I'm not saying everybody has it bad. They don't. A lot of people live a peaceful life. I'm mainly talking about the YouTubers that come on and bullshit everybody and tell them that their Filipina's different. I never do either, Hector. I only do it because I know it pisses Frank off. I don't give numbers, but nobody else in the real world do I ever talk about finances. But I know gets under his skin so bad because he is jealous of anyone who has more success than he does. Or he'll try to minimize it, saying, "You inherited it from your father," which is not true. So, lie number 2, we'll wrap it up by saying this. Yesterday, you can go back and look at that live stream. There was lie number 1. This is lie number 2. The second biggest lie. Second biggest lie. My Filipina is different. She don't care about the money. And as you say it, the nose continues to grow. Oh, Tim, I mean, I saw a few of them that showed how much they made, and I've had some show me in person how much they made on YouTube, and they devoted their entire life to YouTube. They devoted every waking minute of their life to YouTube. And how much did they make? 300 bucks. I saw one that made 500 one month. One famous one in, uh, Vietnam's got about 80,000 subs. He made 600 one month, but some of the months it was down to 200. It was up and down. I think the mean average is about 300, 350. That's true, Tim. Not a woman alive except for those vloggers women. The woman of that vlogger, they're not with him for money. They're different. Oh, please invest in my Airbnb and invest in my property and my I'm gonna build a pier over here and I'm gonna build a store. You can be an investor, and when you come to the Philippines, you can stay for free. And it's in their name. I mean, can you imagine somebody in the US doing this, handing over 5, 10,000 bucks to an American woman with no paper trail? Fuck, people are stupid. Well, you know what, Hector? Truthfully, I think a lot of people don't know those things. I think people should know those things. I think that's why it would be nice if people did real vlogging, like actually gave something of value, not the usual. Let me tell you 5 things that you need to know before you come to Da Nang. Number one, or the 7 things you need to know when you're here in Bangkok. These are the 7 things I wish somebody had told me. One, I wish I knew you could get a SIM card in the airport. Whoa, that is so enlightening. No way. But information like you're sharing, Hector, the real information is very hard to come by with vloggers. Because, like I said, most of them are as dumb as the day is long. Hey, mom, how are you? Mom is in the house. You should check out Arcelia's Corner and Honeyco and mom, Mommy Flores, or Florme, I should say. And you should check out Tim Diziak's channel because Tim gives you the history of the Philippines. Very, very informative. I always, if I see Tim's thing, I always put a comment because it's actually really valuable information. If you're going to live in the Philippines, you should get to know the history and understand what it's all about, the festivals, the history. There is an amazing history with the Philippines. There's an amazing war history with the Philippines. Back from March 16, 1521, when Magellan landed in the Philippines. The Philippines history is amazing. The history pre-Magellan is even more amazing. I dug into that. Part of that was because of Tim's videos months ago. Wow, incredible. And I had been to the Aita village and Igorot villages, and I didn't know the history. Incredible stuff, man. Philippines also the Battle of Leyte Gulf, the Battle of Manila Bay. Some of the greatest battles in history happened in Philippines, not to mention Bataan and Corregidor and the I Shall Return, MacArthur. There's so much, but somehow it got overshadowed because the Korean War and the Vietnam War started pretty soon thereafter. And a lot of the harrowing things that happened in the Philippines got forgotten. Philippines has an incredible history. It's also a beautiful country with 7,600 islands. And people should be talking about not it's more fun in the Philippines, giving you connotations of prostitution. People should be talking about the geology, the geography, the islands, the history, the mountains, the beaches, the waterfalls, and of course the fun people, the incredible people. I really don't either, Tim. I'm trying really trying to give advice. I'm trying to tell people not to listen to vloggers because they're better off listening to their own intuition. Let's say you live for 50 years, you managed to survive. You managed to survive for 50 years without a vlogger. you could probably make it another 50 without a vlogger. And since most vloggers are giving fake advice, I it's my belief that the average person is better off following their own intuition, doing their own research, and not looking for advice from a bunch of losers. Richard Lee Rogers is in the house. How are you, Rich? I heard you on the other day with Kevin. The show was already over. By the time I woke up very late that day. I wish we could hear you guys more often because I think you and Kevin are the great dynamic duo. I think Kevin benefits tremendously from having you on his panel. That's right, Tim. Don't forget. That's what I said. That's March 16, 1521. Magellan and Lapu Lapu showdown and throwdown. Yes. And there's a guy that people never go to advice for, Richard Lee Rogers. Richard Lee Rogers has been married for more than 10 years. His wife's a nurse, works in New York. They live in the US. He should be the one everyone's lining up to get advice from. Instead, they want to get it from vloggers who are big fucking losers. Don't get your advice from losers. Go to people like Richard Lee. I mean, seriously, here's a guy that his wife makes more than he does. He brought her to the US. They're deeply embedded in a Filipino community. She has so many friends. He's constantly showing a ton of chicks at parties, and he's connected, and they have a relationship, and she works. He also still does his work on the side, fixing amplifiers and guitars. That's who you go and get your information from, not losers. Well, I think Kevin should do more because I think if he wants to get back in the swing of things, he needs to do more shows because I think Kevin is back to spending his money on gadgetry, and he needs to save that money up for his trip if he's going to take it. I don't know if I would take that trip though if I were Kevin. I think Kevin showed a short yesterday of him walking around the out there by the lake in Kentucky. You know, sometimes, I mean, I hate to say this, but it's better to just keep the dream alive, spend a few bucks on cam shows, masturbate, play with yourself while girls are giving you a show or something like this. And rather than go back and go through the perilous times of living abroad. And I think he lives in a great place, great house, great location. I understand the loneliness part of it. You want to get out there, but sometimes these people, when they're at the edge, when they don't have enough money to live that lifestyle, they're better off keeping the dream alive and just getting cam shows. Come on, we all I like cam shows as much as the next man. Who doesn't? Gosh, 17 years. See, I forget these things because I've known of you for the past 7 years, I think. Um, Time really flies because this YouTube, we all got involved in it with RRR and other things like that. That goes back to, like, 2016 or 17, and it's already been 10 years, and it just seems like it went by so fast. And I remember at one point you saying you were married for 10 years, and that was probably 7 years ago. I wanna thank Arcelia's Corner for dropping the link there. Now, I'm gonna say this to anybody. Any book that's in there are books in there, one of them's $99. I don't expect anyone to buy that. In fact, anyone who wants to read a book but doesn't wanna pay for a book, You contact us and we will give you a copy for free. I want people to learn and read the books, but I don't care about if they pay for them or not. Now, if you see a sticker shock $99, you have to remember part of that, like the anabolic book and the book on HVAC, those are being sold through a distributor in the US called Gumdrop Distribution. Gumdrop is connected to 17,000 different libraries, and they can print the books for $10. So Amazon, a book of that size, will do a one-off printing for people and they charge $40 for the printing. That's why the price is so high. So just want to let people know that. The Kindle version, of course, is much less because they don't have to print it. But go in there, and if there's a book in there that you find interesting, that you want to read about, and you can't afford it or you don't want to pay for it, but you want to read it, let us know and we will get you a free copy. Oh, yes, of course, Jeff. I had him on my show before back in I used to do a show like with Jeff Allo would come up back in 2019 when I first started fighting with Frank. You might remember I met Chi Casares back then. She went to immigration. I didn't go to any of these things. I just kind of supported her in the process. And then Raffy Tofu. I went to a Chinese restaurant last night called Raffy Tofu. Quite good. But yeah, I remember Jeff Swift. I thought the guys were funny as hell, man. Popeye, Jeff, and Allo. And the Allo and Popeye fight right now, I don't buy it. It might be they're playing just to get Frank's goat, pretend like they're fighting each other. I find it hard to believe. I like both guys, though. I like Jeff Smith too, or Swift, whatever his name is. Um, I thought they were all good guys, and and of course Roberto and I talked privately many times, and we were actually going to be vacationing in Boracay together, but something happened. I don't know if that was during COVID or what, but something stopped that. I thought Roberto was a great guy behind the scenes. Yeah, Internet Monster was here, and Honeyco's books are phenomenal too. She has her books, Erlinda, Erlinda Valdez. Some of them are available on Amazon. Save the Corn, and she has a whole series called the Dickamai Valley series, which is a lot like Little House on the Prairie, Philippine style. She also put out a beautiful cookbook on Filipino food. And we found I used to make Filipino food for everybody that would come to my house. I don't eat Filipino food. I can't stand it. I think it's shit. But what I did is I made it the proper way with the proper, very expensive ingredients. And the people that normally object to Filipino food liked it, and it's kind of deduced that it was the ingredients that need to be changed. So we put in all the best vinegar, best soy sauce, best everything, none of the cheap shit. And all people liked it. So you can ask the girls, they said that I make the best adobo anywhere they've ever had in their life. So we compiled all the recipes. She put all the pictures to it. And so now she's produced a very beautiful cookbook. And there's going to be another one coming out in a few months on all exotic foods in the Philippines and how to cook them. It's about the ingredients. You agree with that, Mom? The ingredients, if you put the right ingredients, you get a different you get a different outcome. Make a chicken adobo, use pork. You make chicken adobo, you take the chicken out, you put pork. It's actually super easy to make. If you have real soy sauce, I use pineapple juice, a little bit of that from a can of pineapples. Yeah, the juice that's in there, like a Dole can. Sometimes I'll even use some cherry from canned cherries, and, of course, you have your bay leaves, and you have your soy sauce and vinegar. Working our groceries. Okay, that's okay, mom. And a shout out to the I call him the garbage man of the community, ET Travel Freely, a great guy that we've met multiple times. Taking out the garbage, that's what he does every day. He is a happy worker in getting the garbage out. And so we wanna say shout out to ET, our good buddy, over in Kuala Lumpur. Well, you can have it for free, May. We don't wanna charge friends. Anybody who wants these, we give them to them. We can give it to you in the form of an e-reader, like an EPUB, or we can some of them are only $1, or $2. I think the cookbook's like 9.99. We can give that away for free. We don't wanna make money off people in the community. Big Kevin is in the house. We were just talking about you, man. I'm gonna ask Kevin this question. Hopefully he'll give me a honest answer because you came and did your year and a half long stint in Southeast Asia. Is it better to stay at home when you have a really nice place like you do, beautiful place, lake and everything that you have, and just get cam shows and jerk off? Or is it better to come and live a much substandard lifestyle just to have an occasional piece of ass? And I'm not saying it to be a jerk. I genuinely want to know for people who are on the edge financially, is it better to stay home and keep the dream alive and just get cam shows, or is it better to come? Oh, he did. He did have an ebook. Secrets of the Dollar Bill, Richard. It was one of the most poorly written books I've ever read, and it looks like I don't know how anybody could even make it through a page or two. One of the worst things I've ever seen. He should have had a second book called How I Was Abducted 3 Times, Twice While Driving My Car. But we wanna say rest in peace, Michael Fazio, sometimes friend, sometimes foe, but you passed away and, we feel bad for that, and I think the community misses you. Well, we still have 14 in the house. So, we'll go back to lie number 1. Lie number 2, I'm gonna end the show here in a minute. Um, every day I do this, I'm gonna go over a new lie that vloggers say. Quote, "My Filipina is not in it for the money," close quote. No, she has a fetish for old fat guys. Yes. No, your Filipina, whether she asks you for it or not, is expecting a huge upgrade in lifestyle. Everyone without exception. There's not one exception to that rule. And if you think there is, you are kidding yourself. Well, that's good. Why don't you do a show about that? Because I we debate this all the time because I know your situation, Kevin, and I don't share it because it's private, right? But You had struggles financially when you were here, and you need more cushion. I think you know that for sure by now. You know that for sure. Plus, you need your healthcare things fixed. But is it better to be in that fan room where you can go down and hang out with the bitches, or is it better to stay in the room and masturbate to cam shows? And I've debated this because I think for some, if they're really on the edge, it might be better just to pretend. This might apply more for the people who want to have an LDR, like pretend like they're really in love. You know, like you're kind of not that style, but pretend like your girl is really your girlfriend. She'll give you a cam show a couple times a month, and she'll take your money, and then when the show is over, she goes and spends it with her husband. April's pitching it, huh? She's giving the sales pitch. Well, honestly, that's why I'm willing to give these away for free because we're not just doing it to make money. We like people's feedback. A lot of these things are about war heroes or famous military battles. There's a series on military people like Chesty Puller. Chesty Puller, who's known as the patron saint of the Marine Corps, uh, and Dan Daly and Smedley Butler, both two-time recipients of the Congressional Medal of Honor. Uh, we want, and these are relatively small books. These are just to introduce you, to remind people of who these people are, these amazing people. So we're very excited about the materials themselves. That's true, Tim. I agree. But see, you have certain things they don't. You just said your income tripled and you have a pension. We also know you're in the Air Force. I'm talking about people who are on that fiery edge, on the edge where they can't really afford it. They're going to always struggle. They're going to have to live in a fan room and not be able to do anything. Is it better to go the cam show route, or is it better to go there and experience it? I respect the fact that Kevin came. I really do. I thought it was phenomenal. For years and years, you guys got to remember, everyone told Kevin, "You'll never make it back to Asia." They always, "You're fat, you're this, you're that, the other." He proved all his critics wrong, and that's what I loved about it. But he'd also had 13 years living in Southeast Asia, and I think he was not an LDR king like some of them are. So all the banter between April and Kevin, by the way, this is friendly, almost family banter. Kevin's like a family member when he's around us. My kids love him, and the girls think he's a hoot. Everyone, everyone had a fun time with Kevin. My kids really like Kevin as well. I've been really lucky too. Nimitz is coming up. I'll look into Hap Arnold. I have a Nimitz one coming. I have an O'Grady one coming. I have the Clark one. I've got about 20 different of these things all in the planning stage. Um, there's several Air Force guys they're kind of like the Chesty Puller of the Air Force. There's a British one named O'Grady, who was an Air Force guy who cut off his own fingers. He chewed them off during an accident. Um, I got a lot of stories that I've been working on for years. A lot of these I've been compiling and putting together for many, many years. I started writing 30 years ago. I have 30 to 40 professional articles that have been printed in trade journals and magazines, and I ghost wrote a book for somebody else. So I've been saving up the research, and now I'm finally getting around to it. But definitely Nimitz. But what I loved about Chesty, uh, well, Chesty Puller is he's a quote machine. He's a larger than life character. Uh, he landed in the I think it was the Battle of Belleau Woods in World War I. As the army was retreating, he said, "Retreat, hell, we just got here." You know, he's very good for one-liners. And then Butler and Daley are so unique because they both won Congressional Medal of Honor twice. The one thing if I was gonna say, read if anything to read in that book, in that Amazon collection, though, read the one on Navy Corpsmen, Corpsmen, because Navy corpsmen, there's been over 1,200 Navy corpsmen that have been killed in battle, and they have all the units in the US military. The Navy corpsmen have more Medal of Honor winners than any other unit. And as it says in the front cover, the Navy SEALs get all this publicity, and they deserve it. The Navy corpsmen deserve it too. What they do in battle is unbelievable. Imagine being out on the battlefield with bullets flying, bombs going off, and you got somebody sitting there rendering first aid to people who have been shot or hurt. Unbelievable. So if you're gonna pick any one to read, that's one of the ones to read. That Chesty is the backbone. He is. That's why he's called the patron saint of the Marine Corps. And he himself, I think, won the Distinguished Service Medal 4 times and the Navy Cross. He was nominated 3 or 4 different times for the Congressional Medal of Honor, and they turned him down because they said he was too high ranking and they didn't wanna give it to him for politics. Sad when politics come into the Congressional Medal of Honor. Wow. Well, I'm not sure what all of that is, Hector, but it sounds good. Maybe come up and explain it to us one of these times. Uh, is that for the US Navy, Hector? Timmy, how are you? Well, I agree with you. Oh, Air Force. Okay. Well, God bless you for your service. You and Tim Disiak both are Air Force. And what can I say? We owe you a tremendous gratitude for serving the country. You deserve all the applause and hopefully benefits that come your way. So thank you for your service, both of you and anybody else here who served. Timmy, you gotta understand something. I tried to help Barry dozens of times. I contacted Barry before he was picked up and asked him if he had his visa up to date and to go get that fixed. And he told me that his visa was up to date. I offered him many different pathways, but he chose to go a different route. I mean, we can't force people to take any kind of help. Um, Mick Fisher has tried to help Barry dozens of times. And, and I'm not against Barry, but at some point, it's just somebody who wants you to pay for their decisions. And they don't want to do anything to change the course of their life. I begged Barry when he first got locked up to go get a lawyer, a real lawyer, not the fake one, not the one that he says he has that he doesn't have. but he won't do it. He won't do because his reply was always something like this. They don't care what two Americans do to each other, Big E. Yes, they do. I told him it was bullshit then, and of course it's bullshit. So I can't tell you how many people tried to help Barry. Of course, Ricky did, Brevis did, Jay did. Many people tried to help him. Doc M. There's so many I can't even. But he won't follow their advice. He won't do anything common sense to help himself. So when someone is like that, I don't feel it's my responsibility to pay for them. Okay. The other problem you have is if Barry owes $10,000 to get him out, you got to pay his 5,000 and you got to pay Frank's 5,000. Nobody in the community is willing to pay that 5,000 to give to Frank Battaglia. So back to the Navy corpsman. Oh, you have a show within 15 minutes. Okay, well, I'm gonna get off right now so you can do your show. Everybody, okay, so check out the um still have 13 in the house. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. Remember, your Filipina is not different. They're all the same. They want the money. You have to learn to live with that fact. You think those two girls over there don't love the money? They both make money now. They both have jobs. They both are selling books. They get to go all over the world traveling. Of course they love that. Does that mean I can treat them like an asshole? No, I don't. I treat them like gold. You can ask them. I appreciate what they do. They appreciate what I do. Of course, a big chunk of it has to do with the fact that I can give them a better life than they were able to give themselves. And anyone who thinks that's not true of their Filipina is on acid. Remember that. That's the lie for today. There is beyond hell. Yeah. I mean, Hector, I think we all feel bad. I feel bad. I don't want to see an American stuck in prison for 3 years. I think it's bullshit. Because said someone had a small dick. You go to jail for that. I mean, it's insane. But he put himself there, and lots of people tried to help him. His family, his friends. I never really knew Barry before. We've tried to encourage him. Shaw, I haven't talked to. I'm not talking to these people. I don't talk to them at all. So, like when Frank says I'm the one pulling the strings from behind, that's obviously false. I have no connection to them at all for a long, long time now. And I think we all have empathy, but at some point, Barry has to learn on his own that you cannot go through life breaking the rules without expecting some kind of consequences. I think the reason why it's hard for people to accept is because Frank, the person who was filing the case against him, has done the same thing Barry did, but 10 times worse. You know, Frank has called everybody a pedophile. Frank has attacked every woman in the genre. Frank has done everything Barry's accused of doing times 10 or times 100. The hypocrisy of it is what drives people crazy. All right. Where did I miss something here? Kevin's gonna go on and Rich, and I think that, I'd rather people watch their show than mine. I don't I'm known to disappear for 6 months to a year at a time. Don't invest in my time. It's better to do it with Kevin. He has guests, he has panels. Kevin had one of his best shows the other day. So I'm gonna check on out of here. Remember, your Filipina is not different than the rest of them. She is in it partially, not all the way, maybe not 100%, but she's in it for the money and for a better lifestyle. Do not fool yourself and don't give her money in ways that you wouldn't do with someone from the US. Don't hand over 5, 10, 15, $20,000 to somebody foolishly and then turn around on YouTube and cry. And for those who can't afford to make this jump, keep the dream alive. Get yourself a cam show. It's 20, what is it, $30, something. and enjoy it while you can. If you can make it, then do it. Kevin says he would be over here in a heartbeat to come back to this lifestyle, and that's good to know. Very good to know. All right, Richard and Hector, Arcilia, and Timmy, and Tim, and Honeyco, and Internet Monster, and anyone else I may have forgotten of the 12 that are still here. Thank you for your time, and we will be in touch. Head over to Big Kevin's show, Big Kevin No Bull or Big Kevin Media, I think it's called now. And you could pick it up there with two guys that have been doing shows together for many years. They're very good at it. And they're really the backbone of the community, Kevin and Richard. Okay, talk to you guys later.